Welcome back to the channel. I have a very interesting product to show you here today. Your pressure washer people will recognize this as a flat surface cleaner attachment for a pressure washer. So this doesn't clean by itself. You have to attach it to a pressure washer. And what it does, if you don't know, basically what happens is you attach your high pressure water line to the top. High pressure goes down the hose to the housing, and I've got this one turned upside down so I can show you how it works. And the high pressure comes through the pipe and to these two heads, and they're at a little bit of an angle, which forces them to spin around in a circle, kind of like a lawnmower. And so it does a cleaning pattern as you walk along, just kind of like a lawnmower. Now, normally that's where it stops, but as you can see, this one's got a little bit of extra stuff on the front. And what that is a extraction tube. So it works on the Venturi effect, which is basically a high pressure small line passing into a large line creates a suction. And there's your downspout right there. Your down tube goes down into a circle pipe in there, and I'll flip it over in a second to show you what that looks like, but I just wanted to explain that briefly. Anyway, the result is a suction. So you got a kind of a seal here on the skirt. Normally what happens with these flat surface cleaners, normally they're just like this. And the water comes in, and it all exits out the skirt and, basically makes a big mess. And it pools and it floods and it's dirty water and it's a challenge to get rid of it. You end up having to do a rinse, but theoretically with this one, you won't have to because it's purging the water out and extracting it. And so that's the basic thing. It comes with a extraction hose. And from what I'm seeing online, it actually it'll definitely blow it out there, but it'll actually blow it through the extraction hose and out to the end without an extractor, with like a wet vac. But from what I'm seeing is sometimes take a couple of passes in a really tight area. It might be better to actually have an extractor on there, something like a wet vac. So I have rigged up a way to suck it up straight from a wet vac. And I know it would be a pain in the neck to actually bring that out to the field, but what happens is you get into situations where you can't make a mess. Like say you're on a pool deck, or like next to a fish pond or a turtle pond, or an herb garden, where you can't flood it with the dirty water, and you can't rinse it or spray the dirty water out of there. You'd have to extract it somewhere. And from what I can see, this is the answer to that. And in a super tight situation, you might want to have it attached to a wet vac. Otherwise, it looks like it will actually just purge it straight out the hose, so you don't have to hook it up to anything. Dynamite idea. So what I'll do right now is I'll turn this over so you can see that ring where it sucks it up. And there we go. As you can see, quite a bit different underneath than the standard one. This one just has the sprayers. This one does have the sprayers. It operates the same way, but it also has this ring right next to the skirt with all those holes in it. And they're large holes. They're about 1/4 inch holes. So they're not going to get stopped up easily, and could even take in like little pebbles and stuff like that. And considering it's not going through the high pressure line, it's just being extracted through a big line like that, that would actually be fine for sand and pebbles and debris like that to go through. But as I was explaining, comes up through the downpipe there, and over here is where the downpipe is attached to that ring and goes straight up through there. I'm really excited to try this because this is a type of thing where we've been wanting something like this for a very long time, because what happens as you're pressure washing at the top of the driveway, by the time you get down to the end of the driveway, you've got the dirty water pooling really bad, and it's like all kind of mud and dirt, and you have to clean that section still, so sometimes it's impossible to finish your job. And you also have to spray that off somewhere, and be careful not to get it all over their cars or their mailboxes or the neighbor's stuff. So this might be the answer to all those problems. I'm very excited to go try this out, and that's exactly what we're going to do right now. There's 3 different ways. Well, hold on. All right, I've got it set upright again, and as I was about to say, is that I'm going to be showing this 3 different ways. Here I have the hose attached to it again, but I'm going to be showing it with no hose to show like how far it sprays when it purges. Because I mean, you're not going to want to have this hose on all the time. There's going to be areas where you kind of just want to deflect it away from where you're working. So that will be handy to actually use no hose at all. Or you can use the hose, and I've attached it here, and I forgot to mention they do supply you with a hose clamp. Now there's going to be probably a good amount of pressure there, so I think you're going to want to put that hose clamp on to keep that from blowing off. And here's an example. I went and I detached it from the wet vac to show you how much hose you get. Of course, you're going to want to get the wastewater pretty far away from where you work, and generally off into the gutter or a sewer, a storm sewer, or the ditch, or another part of the yard where it just doesn't matter, just to keep it off of the pavement so you can finish your job. And so there's an example of that. And then of course, thirdly, I will be attaching it to the wet vac so that you can see how strong it extracts there. As I think you can do that, so it'll be purging and extracting at the same time with the suction. Real exciting. So let's take it off into one of my yards and show some various things with it, and that'll be next. Okay, getting started here, I just want to go over the basics on the pressure washer, because I know there's going to be questions about pressure in gallons per minute. This is a running Honda 390, 590, 390 GX. And it is running at 4,200 psi and 4 gallons per minute. And it is the Cat triplex pump. And so it's a good amount of pressure and a good amount of water flow, in case anybody was wondering, and I know you'd be wondering. So let's move on to the attachment. Okay, the first thing I'm going to do is run it without a hose on it at all, and just see like how far it sprays and how much water flow is really happening there and how effective that is by itself. So let's do that. Okay, so it's shooting farther than I thought it would. Watch this. So that's, you gotta be ready for 10 feet if you got a car there or something, but it is cleaning. If you see the dirty spot there, watch. I'll set up on a tripod to do this better. I just wanted to get this angle. Yeah, no problem. So let me set up the tripod and do the rest of the sidewalk here.
Okay, so how about that, huh? Oh my. Look at that, clean and dry. No rinse needed. I'm blown away. All that water and sludge is way up there in the yard. And if you wanted to direct it into the ditch, you could do that, or the storm sewer or something. Wow. Anyway, so now I'm gonna hook up the hose and show that. Okay guys, now it totally works. Look at this. This is just amazing. Clean and dry. This is just like 2 minutes after I'm done. Yeah, on another note, you notice I'm not even wearing rain boots. I'm just wearing sneakers because I don't see a need. But you know, if you're watching that video closely, you probably noticed there was a little bit coming out from under the skirt. It's certainly not sucking as strong as it was with no tube on it, but considering what it's doing, it's pushing all the way through that long hose. This is totally forgivable. Just incredible in my opinion. It just a little bit seeped out, and yeah, you can just go right back over it if you see something pooling and it'll suck it up. I know you guys are wondering, am I going to go back and clean up these areas? Yeah, I'll finish these off nice, so don't worry about that. But so now what? So I think we got to hook it up to the vacuum cleaner now and see if that will probably solve that minimal seepage that happens if you're in a really super tight. Let me go over here. So here's a rough idea of what I'm talking about. If you have an area that you have to clean that has either Christmas decorations, or sometimes there'll be like a herb garden on one side and a turtle or fish pond on the other side, or even a swimming pool. You're not supposed to be cleaning and spraying this stuff into a pool because it'll clog the pool's filter. So if you have an area where you got to be precisely cleaning and sucking up all the dirty water. This is that'd be a reason to use either the pipe or the pipe plus, and I mean hose, the hose plus an extractor. This is where I'm gonna hook up the wet vac. Okay, here's what I got set up now. I've got the hose attached to a wet vac, and I just want to mention quickly that the company Eveage, or Eveage, how you pronounce this company that makes this flat surface cleaner, they also make wet vacs, but they are still under production. So they will be coming out soon, and I'll be showing them when they come out. But for now, I'm just using some other wet vac, and I think I've got this lined up to the point where when I come down this path, that the hose, both hoses, high pressure hose and extraction hose, will follow me down the path and we'll do our thing. So I'll set up the camera right about here and we'll film this. Okay, so that was a learning experience, so I know exactly what was going on. You get the best suction when the skirt is flat up against the pavement. And the problem that we had happening over here, and I really did kind of pick the wrong angle to be filming at, and I'll film some more. Right here is where we were having a problem, and that's because we have uneven pavement. And so what was happening is the seal was getting broken and it lost its vacuum. And but from behind, like over here, it was just sucking it dry. And I'll just do another section right now just out on the sidewalk from my viewpoint so you can see. Okay, so I know that a lot of you were waiting for that to happen, because if you're not extracting off into a ditch, then you have a limited amount of storage. And the easy math says 4 gallons per minute means so that's a 16-gallon tank, so you get about 4 gallons of cleaning while you're hooked up to the wet vac. And I know what you're thinking now, you want to see what that looks like. So let's open that up and look. Oh yeah. So there's your 16 gallons of sludge. And that would all be pooled up on the sidewalk or making a mess somewhere. So what now we're gonna do is pull the plug on this and drain it. Of course, I'm gonna take it off to the ditch before I do that. All right, so, well, look at that. Be ready to clean your wet vac. That is pure mud in there. And how do you clean a wet vac? Well, you clean it with a wet vac, or no, you stick the hose in there and leave that open and clean it out. And so basically, you know, running the actual extractor is for just rare situations where you're in a really tight situation where you can't do anything else and you can't have any flooding at all, or something like indoors or a tight porch or something like that. It's not something you want to do all the time for just the simple reason that capacity on holding this, you have to be emptying it every 4 minutes, or emptying this one every 4 minutes. Now, Eveage is going to be selling a 21 gallon, which will give you a little more time on situations like that. But for the rest of this, I'm not going to run the extractor. Actually, my favorite thing was to run it with no hose at all. Now, until I get to the driveway, I think that's what I'm going to do, is I'm just going to point the nozzle off into the ditch and clean the rest of the sidewalk that way, because that gave you a real good suction. I'm coming over here to take a look at the way it's drying, and I'm just amazed. It's, 20 or 30 minutes, it's completely dry. I haven't run a rinse even once. I haven't pulled the wand off the machine. Haven't used the wand at all. I'm only using the flat surface cleaner, and there's no reason to rinse. And that's great. So I'll just walk along here and show the way it's coming out. Just amazing. Now, I'm getting ready to do the driveway here. And this will be good because this is another good reason to have the hose, the extraction hose. Because, like I was saying earlier, over there, right there in that V, by the road and the end of the driveway is where all the water collects in these low areas and so on. And so I will put the hose back on and we'll do the driveway. Well, the sun is going down on me, so we're going to stop it here, but I was able to get the driveway done, though it's still pretty damp. I only filmed part of it. I gotta tell you, you got to get every scrap of the little twigs off there. This bush here had a bunch of twigs down there that I sucked up, and they all got clogged in there, and I had to open it up and clean it out. But that was an obvious thing. They were clearly there. You got to clear that stuff out. So it certainly did what it claims to do. It definitely purges without an extractor. Look at this. This is all the stuff that came off the driveway. And the hose is still over here on this side. Take a look at what came out of there. Look at that. And that would normally be all up in the low areas, pooling and making a mess. Now, I never rinsed once. I never pulled the wand off of the cart. It's still up on the pressure washer. There is no need to rinse. It eliminates rinsing. And that is a time saver. So once you're done cleaning, you're done. Over here started to dry pretty well. Look at that. And I'll go over by the door. And that's how that came out. So there's no question, it does exactly what it says it'll do. It's a revolutionary invention. I will put the link down in the description to this specific cleaner, and also to the whole website itself, because it's not the only one. So this is a 20-inch, and they have a 24. And from what I can see, I would have no trouble running the 24 as well. Anyway, that wraps it up. Appreciate you watching, and stay tuned for a lot more, because I'm going to film a lot with this thing. All right, take care.